Imagine waking up one morning to find that the price of your dream car just shot up overnight. Well, that could soon be a reality, thanks to President Donald Trump's bold move to slap hefty tariffs on imported goods from Canada and Mexico. It's best to get all the details before then, and that's why we are here. Before we dive in, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already for more of our auto updates. While we don't yet have the full list of affected products, the auto industry is already bracing for impact. If you drive a car or plan to buy one, this is news you can't afford to ignore. So what's the big deal about tariffs? A tariff is essentially a tax on imported goods, and in this case, automakers will have to cough up billions just to bring in vehicles and parts from across the border. Those costs won't be absorbed by the automakers. They'll trickle right down to consumers, making your next car purchase significantly pricier. Trump's administration is proposing a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico, along with a 10% hit on goods from China. Automakers have been cautiously waiting, hoping these tariffs wouldn't materialize, but now they're scrambling for contingency plans. You might be wondering, why Mexico and Canada? Well, it's because many major automakers, like General Motors, Ford, and Honda, have factories in the US, but rely heavily on imports from Mexico and Canada to meet American consumer demand. It's a complex web of global supply chains, and these tariffs are about to make it a whole lot more complicated. The stock market is already reacting. General Motors shares took a hit despite solid earnings, with investors panicking over what this means for the industry. Analyst Dan Levy summed it up best. General Motors may be doing well now, but uncertainty in U.S. trade policy is a looming storm cloud over the company's future. According to the numbers, who's feeling the pressure the most? Automakers like General Motors, Ford, and Honda, who rely heavily on cross-border supply chains to keep up with U.S. consumer demand. In fact, every major automaker operating in the U.S. has a plant in Mexico. The 6 top-selling automakers, which accounted for a whopping 70% of U.S. sales in 2024, all have a presence south of the border. It's a global supply chain thing, and it's about to get a whole lot more complicated. Half of the top 50 best-selling models in the U.S. are directly affected by these tariffs, representing a jaw-dropping 60% of the market. And let's not forget auto parts. Nearly every vehicle assembled in America still depends on components shipped in from Mexico and Canada. Who's affected? Volkswagen, Nissan, and Stellantis are among the automakers most vulnerable to this financial shockwave, according to industry reports. Take General Motors, for example. Their Ramos Arizpe plant in Mexico is a critical hub for electric vehicle production, churning out models like the Chevy Blazer EV, Equinox EV, and the Honda Prologue. Even the gas-powered Chevy Blazer and upcoming Cadillac Optiq rely on this facility. With tariffs in play, GM's strategy could be forced into a major pivot. Ford isn't immune either. The Hermosillo plant in Mexico produces the highly popular Bronco Sport and Maverick, 2 of the brand's hottest models. Meanwhile, the Cuautitlán Izcalli plant builds the Mustang Mach-E, which had its best sales year in 2024. Add tariffs, and suddenly these success stories could turn into costly headaches. Stellantis, the parent company of Ram, Dodge, and Chrysler, is another major player at risk. The Windsor assembly plant in Ontario is home to Chrysler Pacifica and Voyager production, keeping Chrysler's dwindling lineup alive. Meanwhile, Mexico's Saltillo plant builds Ram's heavy-duty pickups, and the Toluca plant assembles the Jeep Compass and Wagoneer SEV. If tariffs take effect, price hikes, production cuts, or even model discontinuations could be on the horizon. It's not just American brands feeling the heat. Toyota, Honda, Mazda, and Nissan all manufacture vehicles in Canada and Mexico for the U.S. market. That beloved Toyota Tacoma, exclusively built in Mexico. The Honda Civic sedan, every single one comes from Canada. Mazda's most affordable models, like the Mazda 3 and CX-30, roll off production lines in Mexico. Even luxury brands like Infiniti, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, and BMW have their hands in Mexican production. A tariff-heavy future could disrupt the entire auto industry. Here's what you don't know. There's more to this than just economics. The Trump administration is tying these tariffs to national security and immigration policies, making them part of a broader political play. In a surprise twist, the White House announced on February 3 that progress on border security negotiations had led to a postponement of the tariffs. While that might sound like a sigh of relief, it's far from a guarantee that these tariffs are off the table for good. So, what happens next? Automakers are already weighing their options. Some might shift production to the US, but that's easier said than done. The complexities of the automotive supply chain mean that moving factories or changing suppliers isn't something that can happen overnight. S&P Global Mobility predicts automakers may scale back production on tariff-affected vehicles, while fleet buyers could rush to stock up before potential price hikes kick in. General Motors CEO Mary Barra has reassured investors that the company is preparing for all scenarios, with multiple strategies to navigate the uncertain landscape. But a 25% tariff is no small hit. It could mean substantial price hikes for new vehicles, supply chain chaos, and even jobs losses in the U.S. auto sector. Major automakers have largely remained tight-lipped about the tariffs, a sign that they're still working out their response. Ford has refused to comment, while Honda has cautiously emphasized the importance of free trade in North America. General Motors CEO Mary Barra has hinted that the company has several contingency plans in place, but details remain scarce. So what does all this mean for you? Should you rush to get a new car before potential tariffs kick in? Not necessarily. While prices could rise if the tariffs go through, it's important to make a purchase based on your actual needs, not fear. Instead of panic buying, focus on the fundamentals. Save for a down payment, research your ideal car, and find a reliable dealership. Whatever turn this takes, don't let the noise of trade wars and tariffs push you into a rushed decision. Because at the end of the day, smart car shopping always wins, tariffs or not.